For our final video today, I'm going to revisit a different concept that I showed you, finding fractions of letters or of algebra. And I want to show you another strategy that you can use to solve that problem. I'm going to show you two different strategies because some people didn't fully understand the blocks. So I'm going to show you a more linear method you can use. I love T-charts and tables. For me, I'm not a visual person, so I would be using a table here. And we'll see which method you prefer. I always like you to have a couple different strategies in your arsenal. So let me pull out, I'm going to give you two problems here. I want you to try to solve them first before I do. Problem number one, I'm going to give you 2/3 of x equals 30. First of all, you have to know what this means. This means if you have a whole part that's x, a whole part, and you divide x into 3 parts. You can call the x a candy bar, and you take that candy bar, you divide it into 3 parts. Well, 2 of those parts are equal to 30. What is the whole candy bar worth? What is x worth? I'm going to pause it and try to solve that. When you're ready, press play and you can see how I do it. All right, there are 2 different strategies to go about solving this. You could think of my whole candy bar analogy. Saying, let's say x is, this is your candy bar, this is x. And it's saying, you take your candy bar, you cut it into 3 parts. Because we're talking about thirds, because the problem says 2 out of 3 parts. When we talk about fractions, it's parts. And so it's 2 out of 3 parts. So I'm going to take my whole candy bar, and you can do it with a pencil if you want. You can divide it into 3 parts. Or you could do with this purple part that says make equal parts, and you would slice it. Now 2 of these 3 parts equal 30. So combined, 2 of these parts are equal to 30. You need to think about, well, what would each part be worth then? Each part would be worth 15. So what's the whole candy bar worth? The whole candy bar, or the whole x, would be worth 45. And 45 divided into 3 parts would be 15 in each part, and 2 of those 3 parts would be 45. Now, for this next step, or for this other strategy I'm going to show you, I don't know if you guys are ready for it or not. I'm a very number linear person, so I don't necessarily always see it with these models, although I think this was a nice way to do it. You could think about it as a fraction and kind of value, or total, if you'd like to. So the fraction 2/3 has a value of 30, because it says 2/3 of it is equal to 30. You want to find out what one part is, and that's the same thing we did here. Our first step was to try and find out what is one part. So you could think, you want to find out what is one of those 3. And to go from 2 out of 3 to 1 out of 3, you're dividing it by 2. 2 divided by 2 would give you 1 part. And whatever you do to one side, you must do to the rest. So you would divide 30 into 2, and you would get one of the 3 parts has a value of 15. When you're talking about the whole candy bar, you're talking about the whole thing, or 3 out of 3 parts. So to go from 1 out of 3 to 3 out of 3, you're multiplying by 3. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the rest, times 3, and you find out the value is 45. All right, I'm going to put another problem up, a little bit trickier, not tricky, but more challenging than this one, and we'll see if you guys get it. Use whatever strategy you want to solve it. The problem is going to be 5/6 of b equals 30. Once again, use the same methods we just talked about. Think of b maybe as a candy bar divided into 6 parts. Well, 5 of those parts have a value of 30. So press pause, solve the problem, and then press play and I'll review it. All right. If you thought about it kind of as a whole, you got your big candy bar, you want to divide it into 6 parts when you're drawing. So that's like drawing 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that would give me 6 parts because we have the 6th line drawn for us over here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, 5 of those parts have a value of 30. So these 5 parts have a value of 30. You want to figure out what's the value of each part. The value of each part, 30 total divided by 5 equal parts, means each one has a value of 6. 6, 12, 18, 24, and 30. So what's the value of the whole candy bar? We can just add 6 to that because we just have 1 part left of the candy bar, and we get B is equal to 36. Using the table method, if you want to think about it as fractions and values, you can. And you can think about it as the fraction 5/6 has a value of 30. You want to find out what's the value of the whole thing, but to get there, you want to know what is the value of one of those 6 parts. And to go from 5 out of 6 to 1 out of 6, you're dividing by 5. To go from 5 to 1, we're essentially dividing it into 5. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the rest. 30 divided by 5 is 6. And you would have gotten that same thing. The value of 1/6 is equal to 6. And that's what we found out. We want to know what the whole thing is. So you're going to go to 6/6, which is multiplied by 6. Whenever you do one side, you must do to the rest. And you get the value of 36. So B is equal to 36. One is a more number sense style way to do it, and one is more visual. Choose the one that works for you.